Mic check, mic check. Let me see if this thing is working. Hold on a second. Give me 1 minute. What's going on, Anthony? Anthony Cheese Man. What's up? What's up, Rep Catcher? Thank you for clicking on the play button. My name is Adrian. This is Glib Talk. This is dumb. This is dumb. I'm not sure what side you fall on this is dumb, Anthony. But maybe you agree with me that this is dumb. Or maybe you'll disagree with me and you'll still say this is dumb. Like before I even get started about Kamala Harris, right? I want to establish a known understanding about race in America, so that way we're on the same footing of why I believe what I believe. Why I believe this is stupid. What's going on? What's going on? Why I believe this is stupid. But regardless of how stupid I think it is, it's dominating the news, and it's causing people who should be listening to what this guy is saying and saying, wait a minute, why do you get to decide? Why do you get to decide who is black and who's not black? Like, if black people want to look at her and be like, hey, you know what I'm saying, she don't fit black culture to me, that's great. But why would we allow this guy to determine what is and what isn't black? So you may or may not know who Thomas Jefferson was. He was a president. And believe it or not, he was a white man, and he was having sex with Sally Hemings, who was a slave. She was his slave, and I believe it was his wife's half sister. She was mixed, born of his wife's father. And I believe that she was given to him as a gift on their wedding. I could be wrong about some of those facts, but probably pretty close. But in any event, Thomas Jefferson had children with Sally Hemings, who was mixed. Her father was white, her mother was black, she was a slave. Her children, born of her, were also slaves. And Thomas Jefferson's children. So in America, President Thomas Jefferson, white, has sex with a black woman, has a baby. Those children are either half or 1/4 black. They're slaves in America. And there's no way for them to get out of that, because that's the law. They're born of a black mother. They have been proven to have black blood. They're black. There's no way out of it. There's no way around it. There's no way to skip it. And anyone who starts their argument with about Kamala Harris, that her father is Jamaican, his skin is black, he's of African descent, he could not explain to Thomas Jefferson why he should be free. His ass would be a goddamn slave, because that's how it went. And it applied to the woman who he was even having sex with. The children of the president were slaves. And upon his death, I'm not going to research it today, but from what I can remember, they either were given their freedom or were allowed to purchase their freedom, and then most of them were able to pass, and that's how they lived their life, passing. I'm frustrated that black people in America would listen to Donald Trump and let him tell you what black is and whether someone is black enough. It's already racist enough in America without Donald Trump. It's racist enough with just the history of America and what America has done and what we've endured and how far we've come. To allow Donald Trump and the Republican Party, and I'm ashamed of black people at this point that are voting Republican. I'm ashamed of them and the way they're talking about Kamala Harris, to allow them to make the determination that this woman isn't black. Now they want to say that she's liberal, that she's a liberal extreme, she's far left, she's whatever her politics are. They lost me as soon as they said she's not really black or not black enough. Who are they to decide? And what's their determination? Because apparently in America, what makes you black is your damn skin color. And then if you want to go a step further, your parents, right? So even if your skin were white or light, if they were to determine that your parent or one of your parents or someone in your lineage was black, they would say you're black. And that's it. My frustration with black people and joining in the discussion is that the only reason why it's even there is to divide people, not to bring people together, or unless you want to bring them together in hate, but to divide people who otherwise might find some kind of kinship with this person because they have somewhat similar ethnic backgrounds. Now you can believe that's a reason to support someone or not, but Barack Obama won because he was black, and the black voters in America in one way or another were energized to come out to vote for him in levels that hadn't been seen before. You could probably say the same for John F. Kennedy, who was an Irish Catholic, who people probably who could relate to that ethnic background said, I'm going to support this guy because of his ethnic background. And they attacked him because of his ethnic background, because of his religious beliefs, because they were trying to draw a wedge in people who might not be associated with him because he's Irish or because he's Catholic. But maybe they could find a reason to dislike him because he's Irish or Catholic, the same way they're trying to draw a wedge between black people on Kamala Harris by trying to point out that she's not necessarily 100% black. She's actually, her father's Jamaican from Jamaica and her mother's Indian. So she doesn't really relate to black people in America, and maybe she don't even relate to you. I don't understand that because I live in America, and I believe that if Sally Hemings' children were slaves and they're the son of the goddamn white president and his kids are black, oh, Kamala Harris is motherfucking black. There's no way. She's black as hell. And the way I see it, you can't convince me otherwise. And maybe Kamala Harris' father whiffed on the question when they asked him race, because Jamaica ain't a race. Jamaica is a nationality. So when they say her father's Jamaican, well, that's the country he came from. But what race is he of Jamaican? Is he a white Jamaican, a black Jamaican, an Indian Jamaican, a Chinese Jamaican? Oh, he's a black Jamaican? Oh, she's black. She's black. What's up, Jola? Look, hey, right? But I know what the real problem is, though. I know what the real problem is. Yeah, that's Kamala Harris's father right there on the screen. Now, you could look at this guy, and he looks a lot like, you know what I'm saying? He looks similar to my grandfather in complexion and with the male pattern baldness. And you could look at him and say he might be mixed. There's a possibility he could be something else, but you certainly wouldn't look at him if he said he was black, that you would be like, nah, you white, or nah, you something else. You'd be like, nah, okay, yeah, I got you. I'm with you. Now Kamala Harris, and this is what got me to go live today. This meme that I saw on Facebook that says, when someone tells you they're black and these be their family photos. Now, first off, I don't know who the fuck wrote this, right? But I can bet it was a white person writing in what they thought was a dialect of a black person, which is racist as fuck. This is a white person who posted this. But I see a person who is identifying with her culture of her mother. And I don't understand what the problem is with that. I don't understand what the problem is with that. And then on the second picture, this is a woman who married a white man. And if you are a human being in America, you have the right by law since the 60s to marry in every state in America of anyone of any race. Now, that wasn't always the case. That wasn't always the case because, what was it? Let me see. Hold on a second. I want to be accurate here. In 1967, the Loving versus Virginia case, there were 16 states that still had anti-miscegenation laws, which meant that you could not marry someone who was outside of your race. It was illegal for Kamala Harris and her husband to date, to marry, to have kids, to have sex. In Alabama, Arkansas, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia, otherwise known as the Confederacy. Now, if you want to know why I have a strong dislike, hatred, you could almost say, for the Republican Party, is because those states, while they were democratically led at the time, are all Republican conservative states now. And what caused those states to decide to go a different party? Civil rights. It was civil rights. And you can't convince me that all those states are Republican now, but somehow the people that ran them are gone. Somehow the people that lived there changed their views. No, those are the conservative states. They were for slavery. They were pro-slavery. They were pro-segregation. They were pro-Jim Crow. And they apparently decided to leave these laws in the books up until the laws are still in the books. What happened to the laws is that it was made to be illegal, so they can't take it away, which is stupid. It's to me, it's stupid. It seemed like it's a really ridiculous thing to be focused on, but it was very, very important. It was one of the first things they did in Virginia. They were like, holy shit, if these people start having sex with black people, there's going to be a lot less white people. And that's the damn problem. That's the damn problem. I was pissed off, and I'm not a Republican. I did not feel bad for J.D. Vance's wife, not one bit, because she's standing next to that white man, and she's standing up there with a semi-smile on her face because she has to, right? But you couldn't pay me money. You couldn't pay me money to be her, to stand up there like a jackass and let those people make fun of me because of my race, and make fun of my children because of my race, and talk about my husband as a person who's a traitor to the race because he married a woman who appears to be extremely intelligent. And how he can stay on that side and make excuses for those people to say, I mean, he said some shit like, oh yeah, I love my wife, even though she's obviously not white, but I love her nonetheless. What the hell? There's something wrong with these people. And there's something wrong with him. The fact that he can't stand up there in front of people and say, that's my fucking wife, man. Like, she's an Indian, and that's great. She's smarter than you. She's more accomplished than you. She has had a better career and a better life than you. Who the hell are you to downgrade her because she's Indian? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what race you are. Because if you believe that white is the best race, all of the other ones are less than. Now, I don't think that black is the best race. I enjoy myself, right? But I'm not out here trying to promote that blacks are better than anyone else. I think we all should be judged on our merits. But I think it's ridiculous for these people and for him to stand up there and allow them to do it. But what's their fear, right? What's their fear? This is J.D. Vance with his wife and his 2 kids. J.D. Vance is white. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian. What are J.D. Vance's children? J.D. Vance is white. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian. What are J.D. Vance's children? Are they white? Fuck no, because she's Indian. So now they're either Indian American or mixed. But what are they? They're not white anymore. No longer is J.D. Vance's family going to be considered white. They're not white. That's their problem. That's their problem. And they're using Kamala Harris. It just so happened that Joe Biden dropped out. But they're using Kamala Harris to point out the fact that, listen, man, like, we can't have these people around here. These people that we don't know what they are. Like, I mean, he's talking to black people doing it, and black people are doing it for him because he's pointing it out. He's saying, hey, look, she says she's black, but look, she's Indian. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian. There's nothing wrong with his wife being Indian. There's nothing wrong with his children being mixed. or half Indian or Indian American or American and Indian, whatever they wanted. Well, they can't be American Indians. That name's already taken, which is another damn thing, which annoyed the hell out of me. I went to the Native American Museum. I was so pissed off. I was so pissed off with the idea that they were able to convince people that removing people from their home by force, by forcing them into camps, by forcing them to live in a substandard way, and saying if you leave off this place, we will imprison you, kill you, or worse. That and everyone agreed to it. They said, yes, that's, as long as it's not me, it's cool. And now in America, they want to convince us that we should look at other people, the same way. Blacks, you should look at the Mexicans that way. Blacks, you should look at the immigrants coming across the border that way, because you're better than them until you're not, right? And they're showing us with Kamala Harris. They're showing us with this Indian woman who is she's been a law clerk for 2 Supreme Court justices. And these jackasses with phones are telling us that she's not a good person because she's Indian. Jackasses with phones are telling us that Kamala Harris isn't that smart. And I'm like, where the hell do these people come from? Where's the gall? Like, to stand in front of people and say someone else isn't smart when you've accomplished nothing. You've accomplished nothing in your life. Maybe you reproduced. When you die, the government's going to bury you because you're so broke. When you die, the government's going to bury you because you're so broke. And you stand in front of people and talk about people who've accomplished stuff and say they're less than because they're Indian or because they're black. It makes no damn sense to me. It makes no damn sense. And I don't know how people listen, but it frustrates me. It really frustrates me. Not that you can't think that your race is great or your group is great or your ethnic group or your social group or whatever it is great. To look at this person and say, J.D. Vance, you're a disgrace to your race because you've married this Indian woman. As successful as she is, while looking at Melania Trump and saying Donald Trump had the best first lady ever, and she's a goddamn centerfold model doing pornography. She was brought to America as a model, and she was, they say, sold to Donald Trump via a guy who was a matchmaker who was hooking up rich New Yorkers with Eastern European models. This is a fact. This is a fact that Donald Trump was hooked up with his wife via a guy who was hooking up rich guys with these women from these immigrant countries in Eastern Europe. It's a fact. But they'll look at that woman who's got nude pictures on the internet that you can look up, who's never accomplished anything but being pretty to somebody. She's not pretty to me because I like black women, but she's pretty to someone. She's pretty to some people. And to those people who find her attractive, they say she's the greatest first lady we've ever had. While saying Michelle Obama, not one of the great ones. No, not Michelle Obama. All the accomplishments that she's had, right? All the education, all the lawyer, all this, no, it means nothing, right? J.D. Vance's wife, all the education, all the accomplishments, all the stuff she's done in her career, nothing. Means nothing. She's not white enough. She's not blonde enough. And my frustration isn't that white people feel this way. My frustration is that they're convincing black people to look at Kamala Harris, who has a father who is Afro-Jamaican. He's a black man. Her father is not a white Jamaican. Her father's not a Chinese Jamaican. He's not an Indian Jamaican. He's a black man from Jamaica. Nationality Jamaican. Now he's an American. Also extremely accomplished. And they will look at these people and say these people are less than, while they have accomplished nothing in their life by using their cell phone to talk on the internet. It's absolutely frustrating me. And when black people do it, it's the worst shit possible. It's the worst shit possible because that's the goal. I heard somebody say this. The other day, and I'm going to steal this idea because they were talking about Donald Trump and his dog whistles and the things that Donald Trump says about Kamala Harris, right? They said Donald Trump isn't saying what he says to mobilize the racist people not to vote for Kamala Harris. Racist people don't need to be told not to vote for Kamala Harris. They ain't voting for Kamala Harris, right? Donald Trump's words are to mobilize black people against Kamala Harris, and he's using the idea that she's not black enough. But who is he to decide what black enough is? Thomas Jefferson's children with Sally Hemings were half black, and they were fucking slaves. They were black enough, right? And if you got some, this is how I look at black people. If you got some black in you, you're black enough. If whether you identify as black or not, it has been enough for people to be considered black. Whether you identify as being black or not, you can be accepted into the fold. And maybe that's a cultural thing. Maybe that's cultural. Maybe people who, if you're in the hip hop culture and you act hip hop enough, they'll let you be a white black, right? I had a friend growing up, he was Puerto Rican, and we lived in Connecticut. And he had blonde hair and blue eyes, and we called him White Jack. But he hung out with us, and he was like a black kid to us because he was the same as us. He grew up in the same neighborhood. He was just as poor as us. We were all doing the same shit. But Jack wasn't black. He was a white Puerto Rican. He was a white Puerto Rican. That's what he was. But he was black to us because Puerto Ricans are black, and that was it. But for some reason, not for some reason, they want to win the election, and they want to turn down the temperature on the excitement of Kamala Harris. And they don't want people, or they want less people, to be excited about her because they can identify with her, because they can see her. Look at her. She looks black. She must be black. So they want to turn that temperature down by telling us she ain't black. But who are they to decide? They were the same ones who said, if anyone in your family's black, you're black. Including Thomas Jefferson's children, who were fucking born of Sally Hemings, who was a half black woman and a slave, that they were also enslaved. So if it was good for Thomas Jefferson's children to be black, oh, Kamala Harris is black as fuck. Kamala Harris is black as fuck to me. And you couldn't convince me otherwise. But it's a shame. It's a shame, and it's disgraceful to me. What's up, Miss Tawana? What's up, Mimi? Sorry, I ain't say you earlier, Mimi. I seen you up there. To me, it's shameful that black people, whether they agree with her politics or not, would take the stance that she's not black enough. That's my complaint. That's my complaint. That's my problem. That she's not black enough because Donald Trump say so. Because Donald Trump say so. Even though Donald Trump probably look at everybody in that room and say, if you ain't 100% white, you ain't white. Because that's how they viewed whiteness in America. If you weren't 100% white, you weren't white. Let me see what else I got. Oh yeah, this is another picture of J.D. Vance with his Indian wife participating in some type of Indian ceremony. Maybe it was a wedding. Maybe who cares what it was, right? It didn't make him any more Indian than it makes Kamala Harris any less black. That she dressed up in a way. Oh man, check out the fight. All right, that sounds like a good idea. Guess I'm going to watch the fight Saturday night. You say how she turned black. Yeah, how she turned black. She turned black. She never turned black, right? She never turned. They posted this picture here, right? They posted this picture here, and they say, "Oh, see, she used to be Indian." Well, I'm pretty certain that Kamala Harris wasn't walking around in Indian dress in the goddamn 80s. You know what I'm saying? Like this is stupid. This is really stupid. No more than this jackass over here was walking around like that every day. He wasn't. This is stupid. It's really stupid. It's unfortunate to me. Unfortunate that they convinced black people to argue that point, to support it, to defend it for them, because it doesn't benefit you. It doesn't. If you don't like Kamala Harris policies, don't vote for her. If you think that she's not good for America, you don't think that she's gonna do things for you that would benefit you personally, you shouldn't vote for her. But if you're not gonna vote for her because Donald Trump told you that she wasn't black enough, you might want to check your blackness. You might want to check your blackness. Like, I don't understand, like, where he feels like he can even say this shit, right? Where he can even come strong to the people saying, hey, look, I know I'm not black, right? I've never been around black people before. I've never lived around black people. None of that is my experience. But if you think she's black, then by all means, go for it. Like, you gonna let him tell you that shit? Nah, Chief. Nah, I'm cool. I'm gonna go with the American standard of if you have one drop of black in you, you're black, right? And if Sally Hemings, the mistress of Thomas Jefferson's children, were slaves because she was black, Kamala Harris is black as fuck. Kamala Harris is black as fuck. She look like a black woman to me, right? She look like a black woman. I don't know how you can otherwise call this, right? I look at her, I say she's a black woman. Now, if you told me, hey, you know what, her mom was half Indian, I say I can believe that. If you told me her mom was half white, if you told me her mother was Hispanic, her mother was Native American, her mother was any other thing, you said she's mixed, I said I can believe that too, right? She doesn't have the features of a person who I would imagine came from West Africa. So if you, yeah, okay, sure, I could believe it. I could believe it. Right? Now, these people on the screen, I don't know if you recognize them, but they were able to produce a human being that the Republicans also wanted to highlight. This is Amber Rose's parents, right? And her mother on the left is, I believe she's Cape Verdean. But her father on the right is definitely a white man. He's definitely a white man, right? And they brought her on stage. Now listen, she didn't come on stage and say she was black, right? This is Amber Rose, right? They didn't bring her on stage and say, we're bringing out the black representative delegation, Amber Rose. But just ride with me here for a second. If you go back to the RNC and who spoke on this date on the RNC, you will find that everyone who spoke was black. Now, it might be a motherfucking coincidence that she was out there on that day. That was the black day, right? Tim Scott spoke that day. Donald spoke that day. The congressman from Texas spoke. There's a bunch of people, these black people, right? Because that was the black day. She spoke on the black day, right? They put her in the black category because she's in black culture. She's hip hop culture. She dated rappers and she's married rappers. So she's had a lot of black in her. I don't know why they thought that putting her forward as a spokesperson to speak to black people, to tell us that Donald Trump's not racist, that Donald Trump is a good person, that he represents them, he represents the policies that mean the most to her. I don't know. She didn't identify what those things were when she gave her speech. What I do know is that her father is absolutely white, right? And she looks white. She looks white. Her mother appears to be black or mixed. Why is it that they're not talking about Amber Rose's race in the same way that they talked about Kamala Harris? That Amber Rose hangs out with black people, that she's in black culture, that she's posing in some kind of a way because of the way she looks. Why are they not doing that to her? Kamala Harris looks black. Her father's black. She's a black woman to me, right? And I'm not going to let these Republicans, I'm not going to let these white people, I'm not going to let these ridiculous black people tell me that Kamala Harris isn't black. But it doesn't matter to me whether she's black or not. There's no one who could convince me through words or actions that Donald Trump is a better candidate than almost anybody on earth, right? At this point, there is almost nothing that will convince me to vote for Donald Trump. So was I a Kamala Harris fan in 2020? No, I was not. I was not. I did not like the way that she spoke. I did not like her. She did not have the presence. She did not have like whatever that charisma that when people talk, you listen and you say, wow, that was great. I like that. Right. She has improved tremendously. I don't know who she's working with. I'm not sure what the plan was. Maybe the plan was to throw Joe out there and let him stumble and bumble around and then swap him out and get Kamala. And when you saw her compared to Joe, you're like, man, she's great. Maybe that's what it was. But what I do know is that I don't care if she's black or Indian and black. She's an American. She appears to be a very accomplished individual. She appears to be well-spoken and intelligent and articulate. And she has ideas about how to move this country forward. And you can agree with them or disagree with them, and we can argue on the merits. But there is no discussion with me about whether she's black enough. It's effing stupid to me. It's stupid. So, Aunt, you said in the beginning that you said that Kamala Harris, or you said this is stupid. I hope that when you said that it was stupid, you were talking about the idea that Kamala Harris wasn't black. Or I hope you're saying it was stupid that we should have to discuss it at all. We shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. Like, we're American, she's American, and there shouldn't be a debate about whether she's black enough. She's American enough. I saw this at the museum, and I took a picture of it because I thought it was interesting. This is at the Native American Museum. This last time I'm talking about. I'm a guy. In case you guys don't know this, but I'm in my garage and it's hot as hell. I normally have a fan running, but I turned it off so you can hear me. And this is terrible. But this is, I guess, what I have to endure until I get air conditioning installed in here. So in the museum, right, they had this. This is in the Pocahontas section of the museum. It says, in 1924, Virginia debated the Racial Integrity Act. The law required all Virginians to be identified as either white or colored. It doesn't say Indian American. There ain't no mix, no slashes, nothing. You're either white, which means you ain't nothing else, or you're something else. That was it, right? It defined as a white person. It defined as white, a person who had no trace whatsoever of any blood other than Caucasian. So, whether you identify Kamala Harris in your perspective of being black culturally enough, this law was being written to identify anybody, no loopholes, no loopholes. If you're either white or you're the others, and the others get treated differently. I don't think that Kamala Harris's father could have explained to the Jim Crow South that he wasn't black, he was a Jamaican. They'd have busted him in the head the same way. They would have treated him the exact same way. And know what he would have done? He would have got on board with the fact that even though he was a Jamaican and he didn't identify as black, he would understand, if nothing else, he was a nigga in America. It's some bullshit. This it also legislated Indians out of existence since it eliminated the category. They were literally trying to say Indians never existed. There's only two kinds of people in America, whites or colored. And if you ain't if you ain't colored, if you got anything in you other than white, you're colored. If the act passed without revision, Virginia elites who claim descent from Pocahontas would be stripped of rights that white people enjoy. Functionally African American, they would live under harsh conditions of legal segregation. Now, I'm reading this book right now talking about the history, the political history of slavery in America, and it's explaining how they use the law and they use black people to create laws that supported one side or the other, that took away the votes from blacks, that and all this stuff. These Northerners and Southerners worked hand in hand to make sure that they always ended up on top. And in this instance, what they did was they said, we need to have a provision, right? We need to have a provision that will allow white people who've been identifying as Native American to continue to be white, even though we just made a law that says if you have any type of blood in you other than white, you're colored. And it says those with 1/16 Indian blood will be classified as white. Now known as the Pocahontas exception, the clause catered to families who descended from Pocahontas and John Rolfe. This permitted aristocratic Virginians to have it both ways. They could claim Indian blood from a cherished ancestor and remain legally white. Now listen, I got a lot of problems with America, and this is one of them right here. Right, this is yesterday. Was it yesterday or was it 2 days ago? 2 days ago. Extremely frustrating experience. One, it's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful building, and it's so frustrating to think that those jackasses decided to break in there and try to destroy it. I mean, it's like, it is amazing, and it's been pristinely restored. It's 200. I mean, it's amazing. Very disappointing that those Trump supporters did what they did, and I'm gonna do a video about that separately. But that was difficult when very, very frustrating. But I'm having trouble here. Let's see. What's wrong with internet connection? Well, anyway, I'm about to end this anyway. I'm at the end. Look, if you don't like Kamala Harris, we can have a discussion about why you don't like her policies. If you have questions about the Democrats about to come out with their platform, they should be coming out here within the next week or two. The Republicans' platform is out. You can read it. You can understand what they stand for. You can understand what they believe, and you can understand the policy they're going to try to push forward. And if you find one in there, let me know. They don't say how they're going to do anything. All they do is say, we're going to fix it, right? But they don't say how. The Democrats coming out with a plan, and the plan is going to explain how they're going to do it. If you don't agree with the plan, that's fine, right? Everybody has a right to not be excited about what they say they're going to try to do. But it would be, if you want to be an intelligent voter and an informed voter, that's a way that you can understand what they try to do, as opposed to listening to someone translate it to you in a way that's not true. But I appreciate you clicking on the play button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Hopefully you can share it and bring other people over here. I'm voting for Kamala Harris, and I'm voting for Democrats, and I hope you join me. Do your research and come over to my side.